Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today we're going to be discussing the Adeptus Mechanicus points. Something that was largely requested before, but we couldn't really give our say on them. But now that we have all the points, we have all the data sheets, we have all the detachments, we now have a real context of what the actual force is going to look like. So let's have a discussion about the points and see what units might be worth it. Starting off with Belisarius Call was 185 points, now 180 points. Sadly, I'm going to still say that he is probably not worth it. I think he needs a significant reduction in points. His aura abilities are just not quite there. Slight improvement on them, but not enough. And I don't think he's dependable as a ranged character either. He does okay in combat, but really I think we want him to be give more in ranged and be a bit more supportive. But 180 points, that is quite a big investment. Tech Priest Dominus was 75 points, remaining at 75 points. Still think good. Same data sheet is retaining the same points, so if you're using for survivability, really good. Tech Priest Engine Seer, same way as well. It's Tech Priest Engine Seer going from 40 points to 45 points, and I think that's justifiable because its ability is a little bit more useful now. Tech Priest Manipulus, again, 55 points, same data sheet, same points. This one you're more using for damage rather than Dominus is more survivability. Although the Manipulus does have a survivability, but it's only once per battle. Tender Archaeologist staying at 45 points, same data sheet, retain the same points. I still think it's a good unit. It's one you're going to have to be clever with to get the maximum amount of. It's mainly about stopping your opponent. So if you're able to think about what your opponent might do, you'll find a lot of use out of them. The new unit on the block, Sidonian Scatros, is going to be 65 points. I think a little bit expensive there, maybe down to 50 points might be a little bit better, because the Vindicator is 80 points and is far more reliable / impactful. So because Scatros think you probably need multiple of them to really pull it off, that's a little bit much in my eyes. Skitari Marshal is retaining at 35 points. Same day sheet, retain the same points, but I'd probably say is far more useful just in terms of how the Dune Rider works. Skitari Rangers remaining at 90 points. They are as useful as they were before. They were okay. I'd probably say at 90 points. Vanguard are retaining at 80 points, and I think they are superior. Just they're going to be the ones I think if you are going to actually try and take points and stay on them, on specific ones, Vanguard will probably do it a little bit better than Rangers, though Rangers do offer sticky objectives. Catform Breachers retaining from 145 points to 290 on 3 to 6. Still very good if you bought Breachers beforehand. They were a safe investment. Sky Stalkers are remaining the same at 65 points, 130 points for 5 to 10. They're mediocre, they're highly mobile, which really helps for them, so same data sheet, retain the same points. Sterilizers though went from 70 points, 140 points to 65 to 130 for 5 to 10. Reduction points, but arguably I'd say they're actually better, so interesting side on that one. Service Raiders, they are same points, 60 to 120, same data sheet before, so if you're using them before, you'll be using them again. Cerberus Sulphur Hounds retain their points, 55 to 110 for 3 to 6. They are a slight change to the rules, but the points remain the same. I can see them being useful, but a bit harder to pull off. Cybernetica Datasmith is staying at 35 points. I'm going to say it's bad, mainly for the sheer fact that, data sheet has been updated because we've had the infantry part rejigged fixed, and you don't need to take a leadership check anymore, but its use is tied to Castellans. The robots have seen an update in their data sheet, but they are still remaining at 200 points, 400 points for 2 to 4. Again, I don't think they're a great unit at the moment. They are just not quite working out. Ansher Bastard are remaining at 50 points per model, and at the moment I'd say they're very good for that. They do need some buffs to make them truly useful, but they are quite, for their points, tough and mobile, which is useful. Sidonia Dragoons, I'm going to say, are very, very good. 60 points per model, and again they've got that toughness, mobility, but they offer a bit in combat as well, which I quite like. Sidonia Dragoons with Giselles, I'm going to put them down as good at 45 points, because if anything else, you can take them as cheap single units that are tough to bring down. Maybe they're ones you might want to do your secondaries with, just because they've got the speed and the toughness to maybe do so, and they can quite easily give up their shooting if they need to do so. Something to consider. Scorpius Disintegrator has remained at 180 points, and the data sheet is the same. I don't think that's a good thing. 180 points is quite a big investment. I don't know if it was quite paying off for the amount of damage it could offer there. Scorpius Dune Rider remaining at 80 points, and it's had a slight data sheet update, and I'd argue in some ways possibly more useful, arguably, but still quite a bit of a bargain at 80 points. Big durable box to carry folk in. Onager Dunecrawler, 140 points. I'm going to put it down as good. Its ability is probably more useful. I can see myself using that more. So I could probably say Dunecrawler, yeah, not bad. Maybe it could do with a little bit of a reduction. Then we come to the Fliers, Archcopter Fuselage. I'm going to put as bad. It was reduced from 155 points to 150 points. Also reduced the amount of mortal wounds it could put out, not by much though. Simply put, I do think it's overcosted. Archocopter Stratoraptor is going from 165 points up to 170 points. And, data sheet is remain the same, but points increase. Arguably, I'd say it needs a bit of a reduction rather than increase. Maybe I'm wrong somewhere there, that I've maybe missed something. But again, I've not been the biggest fan of Fliers. Archocopter Transvector is 140 points. That's what it was before. Again, data sheet remains the same, but points staying the same. Again, there's a few problems just with Fliers in general. I'm not the biggest fan of them, and so I could all see all these points just taking a little bit off them to make them a little bit more of a viable option. Cacophon Destroyers, which are remaining at 115 points to 230 points for 3 to 6. They're okay damage, but they're just far overshadowed by Breachers, that if you're looking for a unit similar to this, you're probably just going to continue with more Breachers. Corpuscular Electro Priest went from 55 points to 110 points for 510 to 60 to 120 points for 510. Now, how I could possibly see these as taking them as two small man units, possibly in a Dune Rider, possibly, and you just basically use them to try and slow down your enemy, frustrate them by making them move significantly less, especially if they want to try and do any advances or charges. So even if they don't need to be big unit for that, they just need to be small ones and just get off 1 or 2 hits each, and that will do the job. Fulgrim Electro Priests, they are remaining largely the same, 60 to 120 points for 5 to 10. And I just don't think there's not quite enough damage with these guys to warrant them. If they're in the detachment, the SAM one for the Cult Mechanicus units, then yeah, they can be a little bit better. But overall, they're just not quite there. Scaran Infiltrators remaining at 70 to 140. They've had quite a bit of a data sheet change, and they do more consistently cause battle shock tests. So I'd be intrigued to see if people want to take them in maybe 5 or 10 man squads. Maybe 2 5-man ones to just try and battle shock some units around the field. And Scaran Ruststalkers are remaining at 70 140. And really, I just think their data sheet is very, very lackluster. It is unfocused damage, is the best way to put it. Where the Princip does have pretty good abilities, but then it splits it between precision and anti-infantry between the other ones in the unit. And it's just not ideal to have that split apart. It just something about it's not quite working, or at least it's the anti-infantry and dev is more accurate, and is just not quite there. So a wee bit disappointed on that side when it comes to Ruststalkers. And on to the enhancements. Now I'm going to caveat this by saying I may have not got all the combinations, that there might be really good combinations for some of these and I'm not aware of them yet, so maybe I'll underrate them a wee bit. Let me know any combinations I may be missing there. So we'll start off the Radzone Corpse. Now it's got Radio Suffusion for 25 points. It's going to say it's good. It's a wee bit expensive, but it does allow you to saturate more of the board and cause more problems for your opponent. Malphonic Sorceress, which is 20 points. I mean, -1 to hit at ranged. Very good. Peerless Eradicator, giving you additional damage for 20 points. Good. Autoclavate Denunciation. I'm going to say it's poor, but at 15 points it could be a bit impactful. After all, having anti-infantry and anti-monster and some of the ranged weapons for some of the models might be good if combined with some dev abilities. So there's a chance that it can actually be okay. Skitarii Hunter Cohort, we have the Cantic Thrallnet, which is 25 points. I'm going to put down as good. A little bit expensive, but I think you do need to have your list with this in mind and positioning to really get the benefit of having both Protector and Conqueror. Make sure you get the advantage of it. Clandestine Infiltrator, which is 20 points, I think is very good. Combination of Infiltrator and Scouts is probably really worth it for 20 points. Veiled Hunter, again a good one, just because you are able to determine the first turn before you do your redeploys, meaning a lot of viable options to have choices there. You know if you're going to go first or if you're going to go second. Battle Sphere Uplink for 30 points. I'm going to put mediocre because it's a little bit expensive. It's a great ability, just 30 points is a bit of an investment for enhancement, but I can still see it being used quite well. Data Sam Conclave, we have the Mechanicus Locom for 10 points. And I'm going to put, as it's so cheap, it's probably pretty good. Just even if you get one of those Battleshock tests passed, then yeah, that'll probably pay for its points. Mantle of the Geno Skark, I'm going to pronounce that wrong every time. 15 points, and I'm going to say it's mediocre. It's a great ability, just I don't know if Admech really have the unit to really benefit from it the most. Data Blessed Auto Sermon, which is 20 points. And I'm going to put that as mediocre. I think it's probably a bit too expensive for a one-off in a battle ability, and one that I don't know if it's going to work out quite as well. I think there'll be situations it will, but still one-off, once per battle, 20 points, a bit too much. Interprecorpia for 25 points. I'm going to put it down as good, just great ability. Fight first if you're ever caught out in an unfavourable melee. Gives you a bit of a chance to defend yourself. Next we have the Explorator Maniple, we have Magos, which I'm going to put down as very good, just as a solid way to possibly get command point regeneration, 15 points. Janitor, I'm going to put as mediocre, a little bit expensive considering that you have to be near your acquisition objective marker to actually benefit from it. Logos, I'm going to put down as 20 points. I'm going to again put it down as mediocre, just again you are limited by the acquisition objective marker to actually benefit from it. And then Artisan, which is 15 points, I am going to put down as very good. Now again, you need to be near the acquisition objective marker to benefit from it, but it is quite cheap, so that's not so bad. Simply put, when you have all these enhancements needing you to be near acquisition objective marker, and you can only really have one, sometimes two if you spin a stratagem, that's going to be a lot of tech priest round an acquisition objective marker to actually get the most out of it. That's not really ideal. I would have preferred these ones if they had an ability and then a bonus if they were to actually be near their acquisition objective marker. You could bump up the price to reflect that, but I think it would be far more useful. And finally, the Cohort Cybernetica, we have Necromechanic for 25 points. Very good, we'll almost always see value. Lord of Machines at 20 points. I'm going to put down as good. It's a little bit short ranged. If it was like 18 to 24 inches, this would be exceptional. Motionless Clarity for 15 points. I think it's actually quite good for its point cost. But just again, a little bit of a short range in that. 18 to 24 inches would have pushed it up a bit more. An Arch Negator, which is 10 points, really cheap. I'm going to put it down as good, only because you could combine it with Dev Wound weapons, but not the best at 4+, but there is some potential to cause some damage. And that is it for my thoughts when it comes to Adeptus Mechanicus points. Overall, I'd say it doesn't look like there's much changes here so far. I think there is going to be, as we work out the list, there is going to be a more impactful change going forward, but I think we're going to actually have to play them and give feedback before that happens. Overall, I can see some potential with Adeptus Mechanicus when it comes to their points and the things you might be able to use. There is potential. I know some people were a bit annoyed, but overall I can see purpose. Now, if I've got anything wrong in terms of a unit you think that is going to be great and I've said they're not going to be worth their points, let me know. Equally the same side if I say a unit's going to be rubbish but their points reflect that they might be good. You know what I mean. And then there's also the enhancements as well. If there's any good ones you think that I've undervalued, let me know, or ones I've overvalued. Always happy to read the comments. So thanks again for listening. Please comment, share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in another Tabletop Assault Battle Report.